Hello, you are connected. That's you, and you're there in the corner. Don't do that to yourself. You are connected to SNN-Street News Now. We do this every Thursday evening, 9 p.m. Eastern, and that's 8 p.m. Central and 6 p.m. Pacific time. And also want you to go to the YouTube channel, type in SNN. Of course, it stands for Street News Now. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Our fearless leader, Lee Michaels, is on the way. I did have intel that Mike Love will cuss his ass out for not being here on time. But before that happens, let's bring in the masters of intellectual chaos, as we all are. Let's bring him forth, Dr. Ron Ford. How you doing, Doctor?
What's up? How y'all doing?
Good. How you feeling, sir?
Man, I'm still glad to be alive. Man, it's a great day in the neighborhood, I'm just so happy. Weather's beautiful in Chicago, which is subject to change. But man, for right now, it's just sunshine, nice, cool days. Oh man, I'm just happy.
Well, nothing wrong with that. And as I said before in the intro, this is the man who's going to cuss our leader out when he gets here. And he's probably doing it right now, as you see. Mike Love, who is cussing out Lee Michaels so.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing? Cross him up like you did before.
Yeah, I was just wishing Lee happy birthday, and
sure,
yeah. He was just saying it ain't his birthday right now, and then he used it explicit with me. He said it ain't my birthday today, motherfucker. And then hey, how everybody doing?
Right. That sounds like Lee, all right. And look, I told you before, when I started to know Lee over time, he never really cussed that much. Until one time he was doing the Uber out in LA, and I heard this whole side come out. I mean, he invented new cuss words. Everybody that got into his way, hey, you motherfucker. I was like, oh, I called him Uber Lee. And that day forward, Uber Lee, because when he got in the Uber, he would cuss your ass out.
Well, what's really crazy is he's gotten older, he curses slower.
Oh, that's true.
I could go get a glass of water in between some bitch. And I could go get some water, come back, and he ain't even got your bitch yet.
No, he hasn't. He's probably still on Sun, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, I got a question for you, man.
Sure.
Does that phone really work? That look like
which one?
House phone, man. That look like an old-fashioned house phone.
Which one?
The one you was juggling just a little while ago.
Well, that's the office phone. Yeah, that phone works.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the office phone.
All right.
Sure. Better ask somebody.
I did.
833-381-1547. Hit 1 and it'll go right directly to my offices.
Offices.
To the office.
Oh, and once again, everybody changed their name here from time to time. Yeah. And he's no different. So what's up, Bug?
Yo. You know what? I got all you guys' birthday presents for my birthday last week. Thank you so much. I
ain't seen you shit.
And that's what I sent you, shit.
Like, I didn't get not a call.
Yeah, I didn't get anything either.
No,
you don't hear
actually,
me bitching
Chris sent me a text.
I did send you a text. Yeah, it was a great text.
And Ron sent me a Facebook message, I think it was. 2 days later.
I don't think you heard from me at all, right?
Appreciate it. I didn't hear from Mike Love at all.
No,
my best friend.
It was intentional.
Okay.
It was intentional. Yes, it was.
Well, we had this big party planned for you last week, and you didn't show up.
Sure, you did.
Yeah, we did on the air. And
with
so when you
everything, right?
You didn't come in.
Yeah, I was like, oh well.
Well, I look like a local party planner. Just got to follow you all over the country to do your party. I mean, you wasn't here for the party.
Yes.
Well, I know now. So next year, I'll do that.
There you go.
I apologize.
The week after or the week before.
Okay, I apologize in advance. Happy belated.
Next year's
actually,
going to be on a Friday, but
I contemplated, sending you the present that Lee got from Tom Joyner that time. Was it Tom Joyner? No, Doug Banks. He told us a story one time that Doug sent him a present to his house. It was a lady naked on a horse.
Oh, interesting.
His mother was upstairs talking about, Lee, there's a naked lady on the grass out in front of the house.
And it's not a biblical story, baby.
He said, don't worry about it, Mom. You know, Doug acting a fool again.
And the horse is messing all over my flower bed.
That's right. Because
It's fertilizer,
horses
Mom.
will drop. I mean, at any given time. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, I was gonna modify it. I was gonna get a mule.
I
You
like
know,
that idea.
you know,
Yes,
and
yes,
a naked senior
yes,
citizen.
yes.
You know, somebody that you could really appreciate.
Or he
know?
would have known that the gift came from a jackass.
All right. See, I almost said, "Oh, you could have had your mama do it," but I did not do that, Ron.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Because
you
you're
did that.
sensitive
Wait
when
a
it
minute.
comes
Let me
to
tell
your
y'all.
mama.
Let me tell you what this brother did one time.
Oh.
When he was sitting down there in Alabama, you know, and he was you know, doing something, you know, where he needed me to call in.
I was on the air.
Yeah, call in and talk about him. Oh, glad you ain't gonna get fired this time. Then he said, "Your mama," or something. And I'm like, "Dang, bro, do you know me well enough to be talking about my mama like that?" You know, and then
It was
on the air,
it was an on-air bit. It wasn't the real me talking to the real you.
Yeah,
wow.
but I'm known all over the world, Doc. You know,
including
Doc.
Little Alabama.
Yeah, hey, look. You know,
You should have been
like,
running script up under it. You know, this is not really this. They just playing.
Yeah,
you know, something.
You know,
that's supposed to be.
And wait a minute, and then he hung up, so I didn't get a chance to say, "My mama." I didn't even get a chance to reply. You know, how well do you know my mama? Because she probably would be with a fool like you. You know, because she that kind of woman.
Hey,
and it was a great bit too. And you know what? I don't even have a tape of recording of that. I don't even know what
he said that afterwards. Yeah.
I looked for. I was gonna say,
all right, Chris, you see we off to a great start, right? Talking about mama jokes and everything.
Everything. Using profanity and everything. This is a Christian-based show.
Who started it? You started it, Mr. Love. Is it 7 tonight or Love?
I didn't see that in the disclaimer.
You know what? And I apologize. It must have been the other side of me. You know, it's always two of all of us. Everybody has a twin.
It was an F word too.
Oh, was it?
Yes. So don't get on me when I use the N word. And by N word, I mean
those are things you don't say to another man. Don't get on me. Okay.
Right.
He's up
and during conversation, speaking of phone lines, we have a new phone number. You see it down there at the ticker. You call into the conversation 312-476-9207. So again, that's 312-476-9207.
So would the person be able to go on live if they call right now?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like, let me call right now. Wait a minute.
I know what the you calling them.
What is it? 312.
You calling from the office phone. It's calling from the office phone. 312-476.
See, it's taking y'all
9207. Then call
you know it's going to cut his broadcast off.
476.
His computer can't handle it.
9207.
He said computer can't handle it. Woo!
It's ringing.
Are we on speakerphone?
Yeah.
He's supposed to tell you take it on speaker.
What's your name?
Bozo.
Say your name one more time. I'm sorry.
Bozo.
Oh,
B-O.
That's B-O-Z-O.
Goodness. I'm embarrassed.
I really thought this was really okay, Bozo.
Who am I speaking with?
How are you, Bozo? You're speaking with Bobby Holiday. You will be on the show momentarily, but I need you to do a couple of things.
Oh, okay.
I need you to take us off speakerphone.
Okay, well, I can't do that right now. I'm having my hair dyed because it ain't really naturally red. And so I'm having it dyed right now. And I can't, I have to only be on speakerphone. But Bobby, it's so nice to hear your voice and nice to meet you and everything. We were just testing the phone. We're going to call in later with some questions that only an adult can answer. So you might want to just hang up the phone. All right. Goodbye, Mr. Holiday.
Goodbye, sir.
All right.
That's our phone screener, Bobby Holiday.
Oh, it's Bobby Holiday. I didn't know we had a phone. We got a phone screen and everything.
Phone screener. He's going to put the name of the caller up and everything.
Shut up and call me Mike Love.
All right.
Man, I think we didn't grow it up tonight, y'all.
Man, could y'all hear that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
What?
Could you hear the Bobby, the phone screener?
Yes.
And he treated you with such respect.
Man, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I gave him my real name. That's my government name.
Have no
You said
fear.
Calvin Glenn?
I said Bozo, fool.
If you call this show,
I called that. You know, the thing should say bug in, not bug. It's bug in because you
bugging out,
bugging in.
Out.
Okay.
Remember that movie, Bugging Out?
Bugging out. Who played Bugging Out?
Giancarlo Esposito.
That's
and
right.
Do the right thing.
That's right. In the Spike Lee movie, he's bugging out.
Do the right thing. That's
Love,
right.
hate. Remember Love and Hate?
Yes.
Man.
Radio Raheem.
Radio Raheem, baby. All right, back to the moderator.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Bozo. We appreciate it.
That's okay.
And so as we begin the show, let's start off with someone who, well, I used to get him on, and I'm sure Mike did at one point. It's not Ask Dr. Ron. It really isn't. It's Ask.
It's ASS Dr. Ron.
But but have Ron say it.
I thought it was Axe.
No, it's ASS. It's Ask Dr. Ron.
Right. That's usually what happened over time.
Yeah. See, you know, this show, you know, we're trying to get, you know, Lee's trying to, you know, broaden up the viewership or the whatever you want to call it. But, you know, a lot of African Americans watch it. So we wanted to use a colloquialism that would be reflective of who Ron is.
Yeah.
On his show. So you ask Dr. Ron.
There you go.
Right,
but
Ron?
It's just Ask, but we had to go with that because you know Ron would say "ass" all the time, but
boy, I'm gonna tell you something. He knows we joking, but boy, he got two sides to him. When he bite that bottom lip,
yeah,
I personally don't look at his lips, but you go right ahead.
Now I don't either, but I've gotten to know him, and sometimes he finds it difficult to hide his facial expression. So as I was saying that, his whole persona was changed. And all of a sudden, Criminal Minded showed up.
Without any further ado, with this topic, Dr. Ron Ford.
Thank you, Chris, and the rest of these peoples. Oh, man. Well, look, I've been picking on Texas the last couple of weeks, so I decided to pick on Illinois this week. You know, I ran across some things that's been happening all on social media in the last couple of weeks, and it's kind of disturbing. All on Black people social media, not just social media in general, but Black social media.
So this stuff is true. Oh my goodness. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Wow. I thought somebody told me about this and I didn't believe them.
Well, we're going to debunk all this tonight, Bug. So stand by. It's going to be a roller coaster. Hang in there. When I saw this, I was a little bit disturbed, like most people when you see something without reading the fine print or doing that what we do in media, which is find out whether it's real or not. So there are a lot of people sending this information out like it's real. Okay, for those in other parts of the country, they're talking about a bill that is called the Safety Act that goes into effect in January of 2023. And this act, has been, really, pissed on real bad. That's the only way I can say it. So the Illinois non-detainable offenses. Now, there's a list of offenses here in Illinois, and it has this real fine print that says, under the new law, after being charged with the crimes listed, those arrested would be released without bail pending a court date. So that's the information that they have been spreading around. Now, if you all are familiar with, following the show, I did a piece on the Republican playbook. This information has been coming directly from the Republican playbook. So this is totally a lie. Okay. All right, totally a lie. Okay, so that being said, I want to reference a reply to this from the governor's office in Illinois. Okay, because the governor and the Black Caucus are the ones that actually passed this bill early last year, and bits and pieces of this bill has been released over time. So the governor, J.B. Pritzker, you've been hearing a lot of lies about public safety. Here are the facts. Okay, swipe. I wanted to swipe. Okay, here we go. All right, myth number one. House Bill 3653 will endanger communities and embolden criminals. House Bill 3653 means defendants will be held based on risk, not riches. Okay, that's the first myth. Second myth. House Bill 3653 will release violent defendants out on the streets. Fact, House Bill 3653 does not mandate release and is supported by victims' rights advocates. It ensures that the courts retain the ability to hold defendants who are safety or flight risk. For those that don't understand about what the courts mean, that means the judge can look at you, your record, the offense that you're being charged with, and hold you in court until it's time for you to go before to answer your charges. Okay. Myth number three. Did I say three? Oh, this is number four, something like that. All right. House Bill 3653 will defund the police. This is always a big scare tactic for the Republicans when they want to try and make it seem like, criminals are going to be running the streets and the police ain't going to be there to protect them. House Bill 3653 requires more investments into officers' training, mental health, and officer wellness, and the use of body-worn cameras. Now, why that's important is because, police do things to people too. And if they have cameras on, then they're likely to investigate and find out what activities the police might have escalated a situation. And they can find out what the police did that were not appropriate as a police officer have done many times before. Myth number, whatever. 3655. Okay, thank you. Will be overly punitive for police officers and make their jobs harder. The House Bill 3653 professionalizes policing through expanded training and protection for police officers. Okay. And we have
How many
six.
slides are there?
Pardon me?
7.
How many slides are there?
7.
7.
Yeah. House Bill 3653 was rushed through without opportunity for stakeholders to address their concerns. House Bill 3653 was the cumulative, come on, Buck, help me out here.
Culmination.
There you go.
I don't even have my glasses on. I can't even see it, but I knew the word.
Yeah, of 9 public hearings, 30 hours of testimony, and the collaboration between law enforcement advocates and the community courts retain the ability to hold individuals who are safety risk. Okay. And the last one, the Safety Act will focus on the needs of crime victims, help the communities that experience the most violence, base detention on risk factors and potential to flee rather than riches, ensure that the courts retain the ability to hold individuals who are safety risk. So this puts in a nutshell that all of the fear factor that the Republicans put out there that, oh, we're going to have the purge starting in January in the state of Illinois. And then they went out and gathered a whole lot of police departments downstate and other areas that says, oh, no, we don't want this. We don't want this. And then they use them as part of the commercial to try to say, this is something that we don't want to happen. Well, let me just say this. The Black Caucus in Illinois got together and they helped structure and organize this bill. And the reason why they have emphasized the fact about the bond is because most people in the Black community can't afford to post bond, whether they're guilty or not. So while they're sitting in prison or jail waiting on a court date, they don't have money to post bond, and they have not been convicted of a crime. They just don't have the ability to post bond. So when they came together and they said, well, look, let's allow people that have not been convicted of anything, just charged with picking up a book bag or something of that nature, minor offenses, and allow them to be able to be released until their court date. Now, the Republicans have made a big fear factor out of it, saying that homicide, people that commit homicides, burglaries, violent crimes will be able to go home and may or may not show up in court on their court date. Well, of course, we understand from the Republican playbook, that's what they do. They push a lot of fear out. And they have been pushing this out into the Black community very heavily, trying to upset people. They had a big press conference today in the Chicago area, and one of the Black legislators mentioned the fact that people are innocent until proven guilty.
No, they're not.
And if they are not, because of their finances, able to post bond, then they sit in jail sometimes for 2-3 years before their case gets called up in the court, and then maybe dismissed because there was not enough evidence to convict them of a crime. And that generally happens in the Black community. And this is one of the states that have been the forefront leaders of bringing this type of legislature into existence. Now, the full legislature goes in effect in January of 2023. And people are, running afraid, like it's the purge, and the purge is a movie that frightened a lot of people. I guess if you live in a high expensive neighborhood and you don't have a safety room in your basement to run to while the Black people are walking the streets killing people, that's not what's about to happen. And I like the idea that the governor himself, out of his office in Illinois, has addressed this issue. Now, I have one more that I wanted to bring out, but like I talked about in the beginning of this presentation, we as broadcasters, it's our responsibility to prove what we're saying to be true or false. Snoops, a website that we use, that we've all have used.
Snopes.
Thank you, sir. To find out whether or not information is correct. And they have done all the legwork for us, and they have pointed out all of the things that are false about this, information that they have been putting out there, trying to stir people up. So don't take my word for it. You can go look it up on the website yourself. Even though the governor's office has addressed this and has pointed out to everybody, that the things that they're saying are not true. So I just want to try and address all the people that have fear in their hearts. They're just like, oh my God, the purge is coming. No, it's not.
In Chicago.
Yeah. And this is, something that is on the forefront of legislature that could be coming to your town as well, like Georgia, New York. New York is talking about it as well. They made reference. There was a social media post on this week. It was an attorney who was a public defender, and she pointed out a situation in Rikers Island. Rikers Island is where people go before they have their trial and have not been convicted of anything. So they couldn't post bond. So this young man sat in Rikers Island for 2 years, never been convicted of anything. And I mentioned picking up a book bag, and that's what they charged him with, picking up a book bag. And he sat in jail for 2 years for picking up a book bag. Once they dropped the charges and let him out of jail, he committed suicide. You know, so, you know, we don't know all the ungodly things that happened to this young man. You know, I love you all, real brothers talking about the truth. Love it every week. I'm dedicated to the weekly. So thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sanders. We appreciate that. And they talked about this young man after spending 2 years in Rikers Island, not ever being convicted of anything. Once he got out, because he couldn't make bond, he committed suicide. A young man, 17 years old. So we don't know all the ungodly things that happened to that young man in Rikers Island, but it was too much for him to continue living with that had happened to him. So, I mean, we don't know how many times that story can be repeated over and over and over again. That was just one story that she shared with us. And, you know, she went on to say, this attorney, that Cook County is far worse than Rikers Island. And that's the jail in Chicago, Cook County Jail. So you got people that are sitting in there waiting on court dates, you know, 4, 5, 6 years. And then when they finally get out, because they didn't have enough evidence to charge them with in the first place, their life is ruined. They're traumatized, you know, because you've just spent 4, 5, 6 years in jail for a crime that you did not commit. Yes, sir, Mr. Love.
You know, one of the things, there's two sides always to every coin. And, you know, I'm sympathetic to the words and the story that you just told, and it's unfair to the Black community, especially because we understand that it's being targeted. At the same time, we have to understand as a community that we have to change some of our ways. And a lot of times I find, especially with television, that we consistently are involved in these glorified stories of crime and think it's okay. And we use rappers and actors who are younger and popular to the community. And my thing is this: stop playing them damn roles. Stop putting yourself in those situations. One of the things that I want to address with Hollywood is, why is it with Law and Order or the SUV and Criminal Minds and all this kind of stuff, why are the actors that are either portraying law enforcement or the criminals predominantly rappers? You know, we used to have, you know, your Sidney Poitiers and different actors, you know, who were established as thespians in the business, and they play key roles. And the whole thing of it is, being an actor means, can you take something and make it your own?
You know why?
Why is that?
Because these rappers are getting too old to act. They got to do too old to rap. They got to do something.
Well, but yeah, I agree with that. But I'm saying that the decision sometimes has to be turned down. You know, I understand. I mean, I enjoy sometimes watching Ice Cube on Law and Order and NCSI. I'm sorry.
Or LL
Ice
Cool
T.
J.
Yeah, Ice T. I'm sorry. What did I say?
Ice Cube.
Ice Cube. That's what I meant.
Oh, you said Ice Cube. I didn't even remember.
But once again, we're gonna have to start backing away from that, because we're getting pigeonholed in these situations. And even though they need the money or they want to move on with their career and show that they got the chops to act and this kind of stuff, it's not a good representation. And we got to get away from that. And that's why I say there's two sides to the coin. One is that, yeah, we're getting the rubber stamp and getting the credit, which we don't need to be criminal minded, but then we step up to the table to do the job because we're not being offered any other positions. And so
that's
like,
not true either.
Dr. Saunders is talking about the Players Club. You know, every time we turn around, it ain't like there's a street here called Northwest Highway in Dallas, Texas, and it's got to be at least 20 strip clubs there. And just like she's making reference to the Players Club and this kind of stuff, predominantly white establishments with white strippers. And when I'm driving Uber and Lyft, if I'm in that area, I'm either picking them up to take them home or I'm picking them up to bring them to work. But see, they'll show some of those, but it just seems like it sticks when the black guy is a pimp. It sticks when the black woman is a lady of the night. It sticks, you know, when we're drug dealers and this kind of stuff. And then it moves on into these situations like you're speaking about, Ron, where now all of a sudden we're so dangerous, we got to have these rules, you know, to make sure that they don't get out under any circumstances. But things do have to change because we need equalization in law. So I applaud you for bringing that up because I don't believe a lot of people, including myself, before you just read this story now, and I'm from the state of Illinois, I didn't know anything about it. But I do know that there's an injustice in the criminal system towards African Americans and other particular races in our society. But stop playing those roles.
Well, you know, this whole thing is designed to help voters. We're less than 60 days away, November, from the midterm election. And it's no mystery to me that this type of false information is flooding the Black community because they're trying to make people's mind clouded with false information.
Sure they are.
So that, you know, like we know that the Black community is heavily infiltrated with criminal activity. So if a person commits a crime in the Black community, gets arrested, oh, he's going to get out in January because they don't have bond anymore. Well, that's not a fact that we want people hinging their election or their vote on. We want people to understand the truth and the facts. You know, if you are a Republican, put the truth out there and let the people make a decision on what's right for them to vote on. That's just like the election. I'm sorry, the abortion issue has been 70% of women that have been registering to vote believe that women have a right to do with their body what they should with their body. And Republicans have made it so where, no, you don't have a choice. We're going to decide for you. And that's what they're standing on. So now they're trying to swing this criminal, pendulum to make people afraid to understand. Go find the truth. Understand what's really going on. They are brainwashing you into a fearful state to make you vote for them or not vote at all. And they're saying, you know, full-fledged, don't follow the crowd. So when you're targeting the Black community, traditionally the Black community votes Democratic.
What they always say, if you put it in a book, what's that line? Help me out here.
If you want to hide something from Black people, put it in the book.
Put it.
Why
in a
did
book.
I know that?
Okay.
Damn it.
You see, all of these are underlining messages. The big thing about the whole abortion ban is about the European race ensuring that they stay dominant. And over the last, let's say the last 25 to 40 years, we now see, and I'm not saying their name to be abusive, but the Kardashian family, where you have when these European women are going out having sex and babies with African-American men, not married, not committed.
Actually, they're more Middle Eastern.
Middle Eastern, European, white. you know, and that's what's happening. And so the thing of it is, the reason that I kind of said European, I was kind of trying to blanket it, you know, wink, wink, in its own way, because the fact of the matter is, it's a signal coming from what we consider white America. Because I'm old school. I'm from the black versus white America. Now we have a world America where everybody's here. You see what I'm saying? So the thing of it is, right now, the dominance is leaving white America. And see, I don't want to be on here on a venue like this, you know, making it look like I'm prejudiced or I'm taking sides, because I'm not. I believe in human beings, and they all belong to God, good, bad, or indifferent. But there are people out there that make it easy to tell a story like what Ron is representing in his subject matter today, that this is how you have to treat African Americans or people of color. Because it ain't just including African Americans. They're talking about Mexicans and other people from the West Indies and different places that come from different parts of the world that are closer to our skin color than it is the European skin color.
Yeah.
You know, I want to dovetail on Mike, what you said earlier in the conversation about actors having to be black who play these stereotypical roles. And, you know, when you do your research, I mean, I'm really into entertainment and acting and things like that. And so I remember reading about when Denzel Washington got the role of Frank Lucas in American Gangster. He met the real Frank Lucas. And Frank was glad to see him. Glad he was like, I'm going to be, you know, I got Denzel. He cut him off at the pass. I'm not here to glorify your exploits. I'm here to portray a real portrayal of who you are.
Right.
That's what
And let them have it. Exactly.
That's what
So
they're supposed to do. Right.
Thespians.
Exactly right. So you're finding the DNA to work with it as you portray the role. And so, but we had this conversation before in the same program about how the Academy in Motion Picture and Arts view us as people of color. We went over this. Look at the year, the same year that Denzel got Best Award for Best Actor and Halle Berry Best Actress for negativity roles.
Yeah.
Him playing a role cop in Training Day, and her got her ass out and beating up on her kids, you know, for the movie that she was. So again, and again, on that same stage, go back and check out for yourself on YouTube. You mentioned before, Sidney Poitier on the same stage, these two actors getting their awards for a special Oscar.
Yeah.
And so you look at the whole dynamic shift. We said about the dignity of, say, Denzel from, you know, Sidney Poitier on to what was happening that in real time.
Yeah.
So again, it goes back to what I said about we need to be more pro our own. We've seen it on Netflix, other streaming services, where you do see other movies, other portrayals of us in a positive light. And that we need now more than ever. So you can pick and choose who you want to, you know, watch. But again, sex always sells, violence, blood, everything.
Especially in America.
Oh, absolutely. Because we've been entrenched in it now to the point we're desensitized.
Well,
we
so
can't wait to see a gangster movie.
Exactly. You got actors like Kurt Russell. He's played every role possible. He's been a gangster, you know, he's been the quintessential husband. And it doesn't stick. But we get a role and we can't shake it. There's a channel that I watch a lot, like if I'm working on websites or doing other stuff and I just want television playing in the background. It's called Sundance. And so they play a lot of those. Every other weekend, they've been playing Training Day. And I'm about 2 seconds from writing that, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Every other damn weekend, you showing Training Day. What is this foolishness?
Yeah, I get it. He won the Oscar for that role, but look at the body of work he did before Training Day, going back to Denzel Washington.
Also, Sundance isn't that supposed to be movies that won Academy Awards?
So
you're right. Well, that's what they hide behind. But once again, when you keep if that's the only award, then you got to go find other black actors.
Did Denzel win any other Oscars for anything else?
That's a great question.
Yeah, he won for Best Supporting Actor in Glory.
Yes.
Do they play Glory, Mike?
Yes.
No, I haven't seen Glory. I can't say they don't play it. I haven't seen Glory on there.
Yeah.
Not at all.
So he got that before the best Oscar for
Yeah.
Training Day. So he was in glory for best supporting actor role. He won that one too.
So,
Oh, by the way, Training Day was a great movie.
It was.
I love
Well,
the
it was.
movie.
yeah.
Portrayal though is off center because Ron makes an excellent point on these things that he's bringing up, the falsehoods that are put out here versus what the facts are, but whoever gets the facts.
Correct.
Yeah. We need to change what we're seeing and understand what we're seeing so that it does not affect us on election day. You know, that's the whole key. In Illinois, we need to be aware and be the role model for the rest of the country to say, okay, it must be okay to do this, because we're not going to let fear continue to attack people of color, Black people, African Americans, brown skin. We're not going to continue to allow your words to attack them. Like the representative said today, we are innocent until proven guilty, and we should not have to sit in jail for 5-6 years before we get before a judge for the case to be dismissed. And then we just walked out of jail, traumatized for being in jail, family all messed up because we've been locked up, for something that we did not do. So
let me address real quick before, as you wrap up, put that back up for me again on what Dr. Sanders had said. We need more African-American television shows, not clowns and foolishness. To be honest with you, Doc, it's not that we need more African-American TV shows. We need more African-Americans on television doing numerous roles. See, that's where they get us. Like Cedric has that one thing, that one show that comes on CBS. I can't think of the name of it.
The Neighborhood.
The Neighborhood. You see what I'm saying?
I like that show.
It's okay. It just has its sides to it. But the fact of the matter is, we have to be in a situation where, and I'm seeing it grow in television. I have to give the media, the television media, a lot of credit, to be honest with you. It just seems like they can never stop themselves from going over the top. It's like every commercial, why is everybody dancing? Asian girls are dancing. African Americans are dancing. Kids are dancing.
Because young people like to dance, Mike.
Well, and that's what it is. But the thing of it is, sometimes it keeps putting us in that situation where we already know how to dance. Show us something that they don't think we know how to do.
We're good at it, though.
And it's okay. We all know we're good at it. Soul Train proved that. We way past trying to prove to somebody how good we are. Soul Train beat the hell out of Dick Clark's show. What was it called? American Bandstand. Killed that show. Killed it. Dead.
Yeah, it's not just Black people on TV dancing. Dancing with the Stars is one of the biggest shows on TV.
I was talking about commercials.
Yeah, but I'm just saying dancing in general is fairly popular. And I didn't.
You did. That's what I'm saying. I don't even know why you're going back to rehash it, because you just answered the question for me, and you're absolutely correct. It ain't just Black people. It's everybody. That's the trend. That's what I'm trying to say without being disrespectful to you. You're exactly right. Dancing is the trend. And that's okay. But once again, we have to be involved in different segments outside of just the trend.
We have, and here in Atlanta, I don't know if they show this in Dallas, but there's a grocery store chain here called Kroger. One of the biggest grocery store chains.
Kroger is everywhere, my friend.
Well, not everywhere, but
yeah, just about.
Yeah, but they have a commercial on here where they've got cartoons like these clay.
Yeah, yeah,
dancing.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and then one of those commercials is low,
right, and it's funny. That's what, and now you get my point. Right. Bingo. That's what I'm talking about. Why is everybody freaking dancing?
But my guess too is also that people who are dancing generally are happy. Give off the feeling of happiness, right?
It's happiness. That's what it is.
And happiness sells too.
Mm-hmm.
If you shop at Kroger, you're gonna be happy like these people who are dancing.
And they're white, and they're white characteristics of the people.
Some of them.
Most of them are. They'll
I
have
don't-
one
you know,
or
I
two
never-
in there.
Since they're
that'll-
cartoons, I never really paid attention to what
Go
color
back
they
and
were.
look at it. The majority of them are white based. It's funny because she goes low, low, low.
Right,
That's funny
That's
as
funny.
hell.
Yeah. Well, that was what I wanted to bring before the people today. I want to invite everybody to join me also on my show right on YouTube, AskDrRon.com, live on my YouTube channel. Come on over and check me out and see what's going on. You can also call the show 312-476-9207.
That's this show.
Once again, yep.
Is this show or your show on Tuesdays? Because
This show, you can call.
this show. Okay, I thought
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah,
everything
because you need to draw a
was-
line in the sand. You kind
That's
of
why I threw
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
That's why
yeah.
I
Well,
threw
that's
that
why
out
I'm
there.
putting it out there. 312-476-9207. You can join this conversation
If you feel
if you let me
compelled.
finish.
on
Yeah,
Tuesday.
yeah.
on this show.
On this show, join this conversation on this show
Mhm.
and let us know what you're thinking about how we're doing and what your opinion is on what we're talking about.
Even though
So-
we are almost done with this topic and we're about to move on, I think.
No, we're not talking about this topic. I'm just saying join the conversation on this show. So, Chris, back to you, sir.
And thank you, sir. And we passed the basketball, assisting to Bug. Bug, the floor is yours.
I really wanted Lee to be on here right now because Lee is a boss. But you've heard we've all heard the phrase, "That ain't my job." Have we not? Now, Mike
Yes.
has been a boss. He was my boss. I don't use that phrase. In my opinion, everybody, if you can help out, you can chip in, then maybe you should make suggestions, volunteer for stuff. When we first started in New York, and for a long time, we'd all come hang out in Mike Love's office.
Yep. Place to
And-
be.
Right. If there's something that needed to be done, we would chip in. If Mike needed some of us to do here, do this. Okay. I've worked at a lot of radio stations where we show up for each other's remotes and that sort of thing. Anyway, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was listening online, and they were playing this song that it was old school hip hop song that had a lot of the curse words flipped around. Which is irritating. And I was like, hey, why don't you tell them that they should just put the video version on, because the video, he rewrapped the lyrics and put clean lyrics in there. And this person said, that's not my job.
Oh.
And I was like, that's a bad attitude. That is a bad attitude. And then she said, you know what? I concentrate on my air shift and I give it my all. But then she said, they're not paying me to do that. And I don't have the title of assistant program director or whatever. I was like, you know what? Focusing in on your shift. I'm not mad at that. But I've just always been of the mindset that if I see something wrong, I'm going to say something. Like I would have gone to my program director and said, hey, you know what? Here's the video version. Let's put that in because it's less distracting. It's a much better version. I mean, the music's the same. Everything else is the same, except he just substitutes the words. That's just me. I've always been the type to make suggestions. Now, granted, there have been plenty of instances, as Mike Love can attest to, that my suggestions are perceived as complaining. Might be in the delivery. I will admit that I probably had a little bit of an issue with wording it so that it doesn't make me seem like I think everybody is an idiot. Sometimes. But I've always been under the mindset that you should always contribute and make suggestions and try to improve your workplace, and never, ever use the phrase, That ain't my job. Thoughts? Is that a bad attitude?
Saying it ain't my job.
That ain't my job.
That's been going on for a long time. It's not a new nuance that I know of in the
Exactly.
45 years that I've been in broadcasting, and some of that I had outside businesses. One was an ambulance service, another was a limousine and taxi company, and I've heard it a lot of times when you made a suggestion to someone. You know, the thing of it is, I'm still working. God is still working on me. And so when I'm trying to learn how to be a better human being, you know, being more faithful in the process and understanding God's will and understanding that God gives us purpose. See, you got to be able to define your purpose. And that's why a lot of times people push it off, Bug, because they really don't know what their purpose is. And so somebody may see them do something and maybe just recognize that they're pretty good at doing it. They're not really trying to boss them or tell them what to do. They like, hey, you know, she's pretty good at, you know, decorating birthday cakes. And then the moment you suggest it, that ain't my job. Y'all need to go to Walmart and get a cake that's already got the icings and candles on it. But once again, what is your purpose in life? And I think that would help, Bug, with people not being so defensive, you know, in the characterization of somebody maybe suggesting you help or suggesting that you do something without putting up your hands. Somebody that's not. Everything is your job. Living and breathing is your job. Driving to work is your job. Raising your children is your job.
Do you think it's some people say that because they're lazy? Just asking. I'm asking.
Well, let's ask Dr. Ron.
Well, you know, my comment would be that it's all about communication. It's how you approach the situation, how you approach it, what is expected and what's not expected of a person. You know, I've been in scenarios and situations where I've had to communicate things that were not my job, as they say, or I'm not the boss. But yet it boils down to, you know, the benefit and who's going to benefit from what I'm saying and how I'm saying it. So like if it's a safety matter or if it's a, you know, like profit margin type situation, then they want to hear that. You know, they don't want to be left in the dark about, you know, anything that could be of danger to, you know, the population in general. But I think if we have a pretty good, you know, I heard that in food service, it's not my job. It should be a team effort, any job. Yes.
I agree.
Yeah. And, you know, what you should do is, you know, maybe if you're not the only person that's aware of the problem or the situation or the scenario, and you bring, you know, others awareness and then you all go together, then they might be able to receive it differently. You know, there's several ways to approach a scenario or a situation.
I did
You
that
know,
one time. It
you know,
worked
but
too.
it all boils down to, you know, communication. You know, if your communication skills are that where you're combative, don't nobody want to hear what you got to say. You
Right.
know, if you know, it's like if you the one that's crying wolf all the time, they don't want to hear that, you know, because you've established yourself as the type of person that, oh, here he come. I don't want to hear nothing he got to say.
I used to
You
be
know,
that. I
you
used to be
know,
that. That was me. That was
but you
me.
block, you know, the opportunity to be effective in what you're trying to do.
Oh yeah, I was young. I learned.
You know, so you know, you get better with time in communicating. It's just like talking to your kids. You know, early on, you know, Mike Love used to say, "I don't care. I'm your daddy. Just listen to what I say. I don't care." You know, and that can block somebody's hearing. you know, when you are that person that communicates like that all the time, and sometimes you got to, in order to get their attention, you got to lower the tone in your voice. Sometimes you just got to say, "Psst, let me whisper something in your ear. If you don't take care of this situation right now, you will not be alive tomorrow."
I go back to the simplicity of what my mama used to say, because I said so.
Right.
And to be honest with you, after you didn't really want to deal with the circumstances that or the pain she was going to bring.
Exactly.
After
You had a reference point.
So. Yeah.
But DW just said, bring it up in a meeting instead of with that person. I'm like, I've done that before. That really backfires, because then it looks like I'm calling people out on the carpet in the middle of a meeting. Of course, it probably has a lot to do with
you got to remember, people that are bosses already got issues. Sometimes, they're dealing with stuff, people trying to stab them in the back, make them look bad all the time. So, they got issues, and if you are the type of person that understands the person you work with, because I don't never say work for, but that you work with, then you know how to smooth it out. You know how to work around. You know how to approach it without creating World War III.
Right. I've learned that.
Yeah.
That.
But not everybody's going to be a team player, as we all know.
That's true.
Mhm.
You do have a bunch of rugged individualists going out for self, and that's who they are. And maybe they became bitter in time. Maybe they start off, say, in our situation of working in radio, and you come in, you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and you have all these dreams for yourself, and you work hard, and you was told to work hard, it will pay off. And then your boss is like, no, we don't want you to move up in the ladder. You become bitter very quickly sometimes. And so that person can sit back and say, well, let that person do it because it ain't my job. And that can come from just being a asshole from the beginning, or it started to build in time working at a company where you've been passed over many times. Somebody else got a job and was able to move up in the company and you stayed in the same place. So it varies case by case. But when I hear that from someone, right, where does that come from to make that statement? Instead of saying, being a team player helping out, when you say it ain't my job, completely divorce yourself from helping anybody. Or as my uncle used to say, don't want to help anybody at that point. So when I hear and see that, it comes from somewhere. So again, I just think it's a case by case basis.
See, I'm the person that's always trying to help everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So to me,
that can be dangerous.
Well, sometimes, because in my mind, I'm trying to help the station out or help the job out. You know what I mean? Make the station a better station. And it's just.
I was preferably talking about you.
Huh?
No, I'm just joking.
What?
Nothing.
No, but seriously. Yeah. Always trying to help people out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, like it was stated a second ago, it's a case by case basis. You have to know what scenario you're in. You have to know the people you're dealing with, and then you proceed with caution and you address it in the manner that's most appropriate for whatever situation that you're in.
Yeah, but it is jarring to hear, though. I mean, I do agree with Bug. He keep changing his name like everybody else, but yeah, Bug says when you first hear it, it's like, whoa. I mean, you can feel the coldness behind it. It gets a little chill behind it. So yeah, it's like, again, dude or dudette, what's your beef and where does that come from?
I mean, I felt like I was on the verge of losing jobs before because I was constantly giving suggestions, because I felt like it was my job to say something.
Okay, so let me go into coach mode with you just for a second. When you felt, yes, you, Bug, when you felt that it was something you should do, did you think about the person wondering why you would be the one telling them or making the suggestion?
Yeah, like, who am I?
You went right to it.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's the
Little punk
defense.
think he is.
Well, that's the defense mechanism. And see, one of the things, because like you said, we've worked together before, and I always say work together. I don't like to brag on people working for me because it doesn't mean anything. I'm a team effort guy. I've only been successful in my career by team. I've never been awarded or told that I was the best. One individual. But I've taken teams, I've taken, staffs, and together we have won. So I really don't know what it's like to be that individual where I'd get the Nobel Peace Prize or whatever the case may be, and it would be singled out to me. But I really believe with you, and like I said, and I'm kind of on the coaching thing. One of the things, and let me just put this kind of thing right here before I go into it. Coaches are not to tell you what to do, but to be listeners and to help you get to the conclusion of where you need to be. If somebody says they're coaching you and they're telling you what to do, they're not coaching you, they're telling you what to do.
Life coach,
Okay.
right?
Right. Now, in your particular situation, you play two roles. You're a very smart guy. Okay. So you have to ask yourself in portraying that role as knowing what you're doing, is it going to be offensive to someone else when you're trying to help or share?
Exactly. I've had to wrestle with that.
Yeah.
And I had to ask myself that. Now, like I said, I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot.
Because I mean, you kind of like a little lightweight genius in your own thing. You know what I'm saying? One of the things, I don't know if it's in our file here, but I asked you to do an intro for me. I love it. And everybody I've played it for raves about it. I played it for about 10 different people. I love that, man. Why don't you use that? You need to do that. They should have it on there. One person said, they need to put that on when you're on the Lee Michaels show. Well, this is Street News Now. This is a community of broadcasters talking about issues that we're faced with every day. This is not my show. But once again, I give you the credit. It only took you a day I don't think it took you a day to do it. I think I asked you that morning and that afternoon, it was done.
It wasn't hard.
Right. And see, that's the image that you project. And so when you do that, sometimes you don't know that somebody else may be looking at you and jealous.
Yeah.
Hey, he think he know everything. He think he knows how to do everything. But you've mastered. You're one of those guys that has the personality of mastering things. You don't do something you don't master. That's just you. If you didn't master it, they would never hear you offering any assistance.
How about I just turned down a gig, a big money video project, because what they were asking me I had never done before, and I didn't want to do it because I didn't think that I could give them the best quality they could get.
Because you're not gonna be questioned. You're the guy. You're not gonna. And see, I'm telling your personal side. Most people don't know this about you. You hate to don't question me. You may not ever say it, but you got 400,000 facial expressions that people who are around you long enough will know. He wasn't comfortable with that.
I used to be more like that.
Yeah.
Not as much anymore, but used to be a.
But you've grown into it, and you have my ultimate respect because, like I said, you truly are a lightweight genius at doing these production skills and putting these together and being able to see the vision. You know, it's like a director or a producer of television or movies. You know, you have to have a vision in your head. The actor has to get the role from you at what they're supposed to be playing to make it successful, but it's your idea.
And the directors,
it's your vision.
They get major props because they have to have that vision. Yeah, that's true.
And we was talking about bosses and working with and not for, but as you know, gentlemen, we live in an era where radio, of course, is personality driven. And my first experience was when I was a freshman at Columbia College, Chicago. My first radio instructor, I was 19. She took a liking to me and said, you know what? You have the potential to be great. I want to help you out. So you work at the radio station I work at, go into the mail room, I'm going to introduce you to the boss, work 6 months in the mail room, get into programming, and then I will help you become great. One of the best things I ever heard at 19 years old. Go to the radio station. I meet the guy. We shake hands. Oh, you highly recommend it. Have a seat. Sitting across from him. We're yucking it up a good 10 to 15 minutes. And I said, that's a good one, sir. The key word here is sir. He said, what? Now, mine in 19, I said, did I call him a motherfucker by mistake or something?
You called him old, right?
No, but it's not. No, it was respect. See, this is where this is where information is key. Look, I was raised by a mother and father.
Right.
It was about respect. It wasn't about being old. The dude was in his early 30s.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, damn, I ain't that old. And the whole conversation with Neil, and then we go on, he said, well, since you're here, I'm going to show you around the radio station. Hey, this is Chris. He called me old. I didn't call you a damn old nothing. Nothing. But you proceeded as old with sir. I'm like, I was flabbergasted.
That's the way it is in California, too. In California, if you call somebody, I've been living down south for so long. When I go home, I'm like, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. And they're like, no, I'm sir. I ain't no sir. I ain't old.
Everybody wants to be young and equal and dancing.
Okay. Yeah. I got to stick with the fountain of youth. Don't get old.
But you said something that really did date yourself in the fact that no.
Oh.
Talking about starting in the mail room.
Yes.
That was the thing 40, 50 years ago. You look at coders who go in to work for Facebook or any of these social media organizations, and they go in and they're coding and they got their own team and they're like 22 years old and they're making it.
Making $150,000.
Making $150,000, right? They ain't been here 6 months. And he just said something. When we were kids, nobody was giving you the top job. That's exactly what boy, you went back with that one, talking about the mail room. That's where they would start you.
You had to earn it.
They did it on purpose to bring your ass down.
To humble you.
Yes.
And needless to say, I didn't work for the station, but I was out there. I could not wait. I could not get out there quick enough for that. And just to tell on the station, it was WBMX, the station I went to. Veronique was my first radio instructor. Veronique did the evenings from 7 to midnight. Had a share of like 925,000 listeners in her time slot. She was super bad.
She had the sexiest voice I think.
Oh my God, yes.
Was she hot in person too?
Yeah, look, I would mess up on purpose so I could hear her ramp me out. While I was in class.
Sure. What did I do? Did I do something wrong?
She had sex oozing out of her vocal cords.
Man, look, we had to, of course, back in the day, talking about dating yourself. We bring our records and 45s and LPs and everything else, and we be in the studio, and I will purposely the record. So it's like, nah, Christopher, you know better than that. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I know better.
Tease me, beat me. Right.
In the Bay Area, we had this DJ named Leslie Stovall. She worked at every black station.
Her name sounds familiar.
Yeah. She was good. She never left the Bay Area. She loved the Bay Area so much. She's from Ohio, but she's like, she never wanted to leave the Bay Area. She stayed forever and ever and ever. But she had the voice. Oh, goodness. Just something about it. Yeah.
It's amazing. So yeah, great memories. But I had to calm myself down just now thinking about that. And you see the phone number down the ticker.
Calm down. Calm down.
Yeah, I know, right? Conversation, as you see at the bottom of the ticker to join in. Call in at 312-476-9207. Again, that's 312-476-9207. Call in. It ain't gonna hurt you. All right, so we all heard about this topic by now in the news. The NBA on Tuesday gave a 1-year suspension and a $10 million fine to Phoenix and Mercury owner Robert Sarver for making racist and misogynistic remarks during his 17 years as an owner. Also, his comments of that type of misogyny and racist has been recently as 2021 of last year. NBA commissioner.
Did they ever say on the news what he actually said?
I have not seen any reports about what he said. So everything has just been closed, to the public as to maybe later on we'll be exposed to exactly what he said.
Yeah. Okay. I was trying to find out, and I was like, couldn't find it anywhere.
The same here. Exactly. So NBA Commissioner Adam Silver had an option to go longer than the 1 year suspension. Sarver said, and I quote, "I take full responsibility for what I have done. Sarver must also complete training for a program to respect the workplace and conduct, treating employees in a demanding way, including yelling and cussing." The NBA says investigation found Sarver used the N-word at least 5 times. Let's back up 1 second here. From my experience dealing with racist people, or just knowing them in person, seeing them in person, or on television, the news, whatever, they don't have a count of using the N-word. You don't say, okay, that's my 5-day quota, I'll begin tomorrow. No, they say the N-word as many times as they can because that's who they are. Case in point, it was a joke, but it made sense to me. Going back to the movie Bamboozle with Damon Wayans, and he's talking to his father, portrayed by Paul Mooney. So Paul Mooney is a stand-up comedian. He says, "Father, why use the N-word a lot in your jokes?" And he replied, "Son, I say the N-word 37 times a day to keep my teeth white."
Woo!
So, look.
He's saying that joke on stage.
Yeah, I know, right? So that was just every other word. So if you just apply that to people who are racist, they're going to say it more than 5 times. And that was just, I'm sorry, I call bullshit on that one. Also, the NBA found instances of inequitable conduct towards female employees, and also goes into a couple of tweets by some NBA players. This is by Chris Paul, who plays for the Phoenix Suns. "I am of the view that the sanctions fell short in truly addressing what we all agree was atrocious behavior. My heart goes out to all the people that were affected." And LeBron James had typed on this tweet the following. Hold on, just get it real quick here. "Read through the Sarver stories a few times. I got to be honest. Our lead definitely got this one wrong. I don't need to explain why. Y'all read the stories and decide for yourself. I said it before. I'm going to say it again. There is no place in this league for that type of behavior." Also going on to say, when you look at who's going to take his place, Phoenix Suns Vice Chairman Sam Garvin appointed interim governor for these both of these teams. Also, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver approved the appointment last night. Garvin has been with the Phoenix Suns since 2004. Now, it's one of those things where it's the classic, "I'm sorry I got caught," which is pretty much what it is. These people exist because racism exists. Always say that racism to me will always be the never-ending battle. It's hard to combat, especially as Mike said earlier about having 2 faces. You have a public face and a private face. And even as not as far as just a year or so ago, a couple of years, with John Gruden, the former Las Vegas Raiders coach, and his emails being exposed about users' racist comments and misogynistic comments and things like that. There was an Sports Illustrated article this past August 31st entitled "John Gruden ignoring reality won't get him back into coaching." So he's talking to a football team, and he's going over the fact that he's sorry. It's going over the fact that it never should have happened. But you know how people are. They're just trying to get to the next job. And he's trying to be remorseful just because it didn't come off well. And again, what would have happened if the email was not leaked? His email going back to Gruden goes back to racist comments about blacks, he was also anti-LGBTQ community and misogynistic in nature between 2010 and 2018. These people behind the scenes say these things to themselves all the time. And then when they're in public, either they keep it to themselves or they just continue to be who they are as a racist and misogynistic person. Me personally, I think that Adam Silver did drop the ball on this, but literally, I think it should have been more than a year suspension. It should have been 2. They compared it to the whole thing with LA Clippers Donald Sterling thing, which is kind of stupid because they said with Donald Sterling, we actually heard and saw that on video. But these various employees from the Mercury and Phoenix Suns teams have said, look, we got it on account. He called us out of our name on many occasions. So I guess because it's word of mouth at this point and not a video that Donald Sterling went through with the Clippers, it's two different things. Sounds like lawyer speak to me, but that's how it is. We should not be surprised at this, but it's also, and I do agree with LeBron James, I really do, it's not good for the league, especially when you have the majority of your players who are African American, and especially when you have now coaches who are stepping up. This is not a good look for the NBA. So $10 million is the highest they can do. I think Adam Silver should at least have gave him 2-year suspension, make him really feel it at this point. Because again, it's I got caught, but am I really sorry? I don't think they're sorry. I think they're sorry they got caught.
Make them sell their team. Suspend their membership to either the NFL or the NBA. You cannot have two leagues like this where the majority of the players are non-white.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't find Black owners. You can't incentivize by some means to ensure that if there are 12, how many owners, let's say for the NBA? Anybody know off the top of their head?
No, offhand, no.
Okay. But let's say it's 25.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, out of the total number of teams, you mean?
Out of teams, right.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I meant to say. Not individual owners, but I mean teams.
How many teams?
But I'm talking about teams that are led by an African American or a person of color, should I say,
owned
non-white.
By. You mean owned by?
Yes, owned by.
That's
The only
joke,
one
isn't it?
that come to mind is Michael Jordan for the Charlotte Hornets.
Right.
That
But doesn't Magic own a team? And doesn't New York, isn't that a
Magic
black
doesn't
owned
own a team that I know of. He has 3 or 4% interest in the Dodgers.
I thought he had some ownership in the Lakers as well.
The thing of it is, Dr. Buss's daughter, you have to say, Google it. Dr. Buss's daughter has been trying to keep Magic involved. See,
Like a consultant type thing.
We're dancing around it, but it's a vicious game.
Mm-hmm.
Because that league could do whatever they need to do to open the doors for Byron Allen or anybody else to come in.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what about Brooklyn? Isn't Brooklyn owned by
No.
black owners?
No, that's owned by some Russians.
Is it?
Now,
Yeah.
Robert Johnson was the first one.
Right.
Okay.
And then he passed that off to Michael Jordan. No. It was the other guy. I can't think of his name.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Robert Johnson?
Currently, this is from Afrotech.com. Currently, there are only 6 people of color with ownership across all 3 major U.S. sports: Major League Baseball, the National Basketball Association, and the NFL.
That's ridiculous in 2022. It's blasphemy.
6.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Now, what you do, see, and we don't know, we sit here and we watch these teams. Last Sunday when the Cowboys played? And of course, they got tased on television unnecessarily. And the thing of it is, when I was getting the phone calls, because people know I'm a Cowboys fan, so of course, let's call and beat up on Mike about it. Look at your team, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to be a Cowboys fan regardless.
Sure.
But here's the deal. A story came out about maybe 45, 50 days ago. They were, if you have news break, it's on your phone. They were asking who was the richest person in Texas. Came out to be Jerry Jones with $12.1 billion.
Yeah.
He has the #1 concession business in the country right now.
Yes.
He's got concession stands in other people's stadiums. Now, one of the things that people don't understand is most of the stadiums or the auditoriums or whatever they're called are not owned by the teams they're leased. The cities normally own those.
Right.
Okay. So see this cat and mouse game, it keeps getting played and nobody speaks up. Nobody comes to the table. The Adam Silvers don't come to the table, and they can't because they work for the owners.
That's right.
Sports, whether it's NBA or NFL, is nothing but a poker game amongst white people. That's called a league, and that's unfortunate.
Mhm.
And I don't say that with any malice. Go ahead, Bud.
There's some celebrities on here that surprise you. Well, one that wouldn't surprise anybody is Jay-Z.
Yeah, and is he on the Nets?
Yeah, he has part of it. Yeah, he has a percentage, right?
It's not
We're
much.
talking about hands down
Complete ownership.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Or majority. Let's say majority ownership.
Will and Jada own part of the 76ers.
Yeah.
Usher owns part of the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Right.
Jordan, of course, owns what Jordan owns. Washington Capitals. 12%.
I think Jordan's got a bigger share in his.
Right. Doesn't former NBA player Dwayne Wade has a piece of Utah Jazz?
I think he's got a little piece of that too.
Yeah.
But if you went
Serena
down, if we
Williams.
get a chance, we're gonna find a list and bring it back to the show because, like I said, you hear Magic Johnson always talking about owning the
Dodgers.
The Dodgers, and when I found it was like 3 or 4%,
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I think that's great.
Nelly is part owner of the Bobcats.
Yeah,
Mm.
but we need to find out those percentages,
Right?
Because
they're all fairly small.
They're all
same
small.
with Michelle Williams from Destiny's Child. She owns stake in one of the WNBA teams.
right? See, they go around and they think and see the fact that we let that be enough is actually the crime. 80% of the NFL, the players are black. 50% of them are married to white women.
Who was
Or a race of women other than black.
Mm.
Who was it that said back in Jordan's heyday, Michael Jordan is, maybe it was Paul Mooney, Michael Jordan is rich. The person who signs his check is wealthy.
Yes. I don't know who said it, but I remember that clearly. Yes.
Yeah.
And see, that's the whole thing. That's what I'm saying. We keep playing around with these situations, and we got to get dominance. We got to get dominance. If African Americans didn't play NBA and NFL,
Shut it down.
it'd be off television. It'd be out. The leagues would be over with. It's slavery at its highest level. Now they're getting paid. They're being compensated. Okay, when you ain't never had $1 million before, no, there's nothing to sneeze at. But once again, how do we gain leadership in this country? What's owed to us right now outside of reparations, because I don't think they ever gonna figure out how to do reparations.
That's not going to happen.
What has to happen is opportunities have to happen. I was surprised that the Detroit Lions won the other day. Last year, they had they lost 9 games in a row. It's owned by the Ford family. The Fields store family in Chicago owns the Bulls. I mean, what's your football team?
Bears.
The Bears.
People who own Marshall Fields own the Bears?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And see, these are situations where, like I said, it's like a poker game. It's like us playing spades, but it's more like a poker game because it's all about who has the most chips.
But you know what? Samuel L. Jackson's character in Django would have said, "Y'all better be happy with what you got."
Well, and that's unfortunate, but it's the truth. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth because that's exactly, Bug, where we're at. Happy with what we got.
Happy with
You
what you
running
got.
around telling. Now, let me say this. It is an investment when you own a team that's making millions of dollars. See, the league isn't losing money because of television. The Cowboys 2 or 3 years ago was getting $425 million in TV rights from CBS. Did you know, or do you care, that Thursday night football is now on Amazon Prime? I'm going through the TV before we went into the thing trying to find it. I'm like, where the hell is the damn football? Found out. I Googled it. Now it's on Amazon. I don't remember reading anything over the last 12 months that Thursday night football was no longer going to be on ABC, CBS, or NBC, or whoever the hell had it.
It's going to be interesting, just in general, with television in general. Going to be interesting to see what happens over the course of the next 10 years. Because I was on a Paramount Plus the other night, and because I'm a big Star Trek fan, so of course I have Paramount Plus. They have a whole bunch of live streams where you can't fast forward and rewind, but they just play these shows back to back. And one of the there are a couple news and sports shows. One of them is a live feed from WCBS, CBS2 in New York. So since
it's their parent company,
right? Since I used to live there, and then it's an O&O, it's owned and operated by CBS. So I like to watch that just because of the local news, places I remember, that sort of thing. But there are all these streaming channels that are just live channels, and they just play stuff back to back. Like they have a Star Trek channel for one, and I was like, oh, Star Trek channel, all Star Trek, all day long. Just like they used to do those marathons.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Big Brother, I think, has a channel, and it's like sort of like, I guess for somebody like my parents, my mom, who doesn't know how to change the channel and all that, so I could just leave it on there all day long, and she just watch over and over and over again. By the way, I got to remember.
Well, see, the ABCs, the CBSs, and the NBCs have scooped up the AMCs and the Paramounts and the USAs and that kind of stuff, and they're just playing their stuff over there. So anything that they stay new on their O&Os, and then they move all the other programming. And they used to cancel it. And when I Love Lucy was over, it was over. Now they'll take I Love Lucy and move over to the streaming channel, what you're talking about, and just run them all day. Just run them over and over and over and over.
Got their own channel. That's right.
Like this.
But the only reason why I heard about Thursday Night Football on Prime was because I read an article. This is when Al Michaels on NBC left NBC to go to Amazon Prime to start calling football games. So in the article, it mentioned about the Thursday Night Football type of situation. And he's in the booth with Kurt Herbstreit, who does college football on ESPN.
Yeah, I missed it.
Do they do it in 4K? I bet you they stream it in 4K.
Yes.
I don't know if it's 4K, 10K.
They advertise 4K, yeah.
Yeah. TV can't do it because they don't have the capability yet. And so you want 4K, it's got to be streaming, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Can I ask
these 4K TVs now? It's like,
Can I ask my colleagues a question? With all of the black sports stars and sports star wannabes in the NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, do you think that they have the ability to stand up and say, hey, unless the leagues themselves make major changes for representation in ownership, front office, and things of that nature, that they would be considered, sellouts for not doing it? Because without the stars of the league, there is no league.
Okay, but here's what they're not looking at. You make a great point. 90% of those players have a college degree.
Mm-hmm.
So that means, are you willing to sacrifice maybe making millions of dollars and getting hundreds of thousands because you stood on something that you really care about? See, every time we get ready to stand on something, it's like our feet are on sinking sand. That's like a biblical term. And that's where we get caught up, because what you just said that's exactly it. If they said we ain't playing,
but
if black folks turned around and said we ain't playing,
They did.
There
They
have been
did
player
that.
strikes before, haven't there?
Well, not just strikes, but
No,
walkouts.
not just say you don't play.
Right. They had an
That's where
NBA
strikes go.
team. I can't remember which team it was. It was an NBA team during Black Lives Matter that completely walked off the floor, and there were other teams that did the same thing. It was a unified walkout during the Black Lives Matter protesting. And then, of course, I think it was just a 1 day or 1 week. I can't remember exactly how long it was, but it was a walkout.
Yeah.
You
It was
know?
like a week.
I think it was a week,
It was a
something
week.
like that.
Mhm.
But they brought attention to the fact that we as black and white players left with them too. You know, so it was a team effort, and they walked out. There won't be no game today, y'all. You
Trust
know?
and believe me, because nobody, and there was a time and a place in the country where predominantly the NBA and the NFL, the players were white. So it ain't that they can't pull it off.
Mhm.
But, you know, the thing of it is, over the course of time, our perspective is to see different people of color, you know, excel in these positions. And we just, for some reason, as great as the USA is supposed to be, it's so great that people all over the world want to move and come here. Land of the free, home of the brave.
Mhm.
But we still have that little stain that we can't seem to wash out. And that stain says that if we don't show it this way, it won't work. And we help them. Tristan Thompson, the baby daddy of Khloe Kardashian's child that you see when she's on TV bouncing the baby she's eating and the little baby's there.
I love Chloe, big Chloe.
I love Khloe. He got another girl pregnant.
And what else is new?
The monthly child support was $47,000. That's what else is new. Then he's turned back, and now they did, him and Khloe did in vitro, and they got another child coming. So another woman's going to, she's not going to mess her body up, I guess, and let somebody else have their child.
Oh, yeah.
See,
Well, surrogate.
it's this carelessness. It
Great
kind of
idea.
almost goes back. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I said a surrogate. Great idea.
Surrogate. And it's it's this same thing that that Ron was talking about earlier that happens to us. A lot of this stuff that he was talking about, it wouldn't matter if we wasn't trying to sell drugs, or we were doing things if we weren't trying to be criminally minded. And we gotta move on. And you know, timing is every timing is everything. And that's something that we don't seem to be able to control. We, for some reason, as a race, as African Americans, we don't do a very good job at controlling timing. Going back to talking about the NFL, I said 80% of the players are African American. 50% of them are married to a woman that is not African American.
So let me ask that
I don't
same
see a problem
question.
with that.
I don't either, if as long as it, you know, if it's a person you love. Okay, let's not take the love away. I'm sorry, Ron. Let me just make this point. But once again, it keeps the growth. It keeps that whole idea of, why am I doing this?
Mhm.
It talks about what we talked about with your skill set in production. You're excellent with that. I don't know one person amongst Terry and all the people that I came up with as programmers, each one of us would hire you at the drop of a dime. You're excellent with promotion, with production. See, you got to take what you're good at and use it as a power. And that's what we're not doing as African Americans, because we are skillful. We're a skillful race. And we didn't let this Mideastern race come over here, and now they're controlling Meta and the computers and the coding and everything. And we keep getting pushed back. But you know what? We ain't getting pushed back. We keep standing back because we don't demand.
Yeah, which full circle, bringing the same question. Do you think the players that are on the teams that Chris talked about in this story were to protest and refuse to play because there were not strong enough sanctions for that particular owner and his racist behavior, would they be able to accomplish more by standing together against him?
Yes, because they make a lot of money. These owners make a shitload of money.
Mike.
Yeah, SHIT in bold.
But like LeBron
Italicized.
said, like LeBron said, they did not. But I think the league had different commissioners at that time too. I think too. Then they have a commissioner change.
Yeah, they had a commissioner change, but the fact
Yeah.
but see, the commissioner works for the league.
Yeah.
So
but,
the owners are his boss.
But even before, when they had a problem with the Sacramento owner, you know, they came down on him appropriately.
What happened?
And like what they did with the Clippers.
What
Yeah,
happened
that's what I'm
with
talking about. The LA.
Clippers, he's right. LA Clippers, right?
Yeah, LA
that?
Clippers.
I
Yeah.
thought you said Sacramento.
I thought
He
you
did.
said.
I said Sacramento, my bad.
Okay.
But yeah, the California team, that they got rid of him. They made him sell everything. His wife left him everything.
Yeah, you got to shake them clean, man. That's the only way.
She was like, I am not, look, I have too much black meat in me for to be sitting around here with you right now. You know,
right.
you know.
But when you go
look
back,
like a-
you go back to the players taking a stance. The question is, what are you prepared to do
Exactly.
when you make a stance like that? Because again, you have a lot of people with you. You have, Nike as, your sponsor for your shoes. You have all this commercial that you cut for everything, State Farm and everything else. Because if you do that, depending on the sponsor, they may stand with you or alienate against you. And so when you think about, not just think about certain players, not all players, when you think about certain players, they think about their revenue stream.
Yeah.
And not everybody's going to be on board.
That's selfish, though. When Colin Kaepernick, and I know I'm murdering his name, when Kaepernick made his statement, everybody turned their back on him. And then later in time, what was it? Nike gave him a contract, and they raised holy hell because, oh man, how could you go with this guy? And he didn't even care about being on the team after that because he made so much money. Yeah, after he made so much money from the deal that they gave him for being a righteous stand up or kneel down, whichever way you want to put it, for what he believed in.
But what's the devil in the blue dress at what you just said? Because he made so much money.
Yeah,
See,
but
money is the root. You tell us, Mr. Theological.
there you go with that, trying to put my business in the street again.
It's out.
But the bottom line is this: he got how would you say he got blessed for being the person that stood up for his own.
I asked you to tell me what the biblical phrase is. Money is what?
You go to TD Jakes every week.
The love, is it the love?
The love of money is the root of all evil. Yeah.
Thank you. That's all I asked you to do.
Okay. But it's still what he believed in, he stood up for it or kneel for it, whichever way you want to put it. And it brought him unjust treatment throughout the league. Nobody would touch him. Nobody. So, but he still believed and he became healed, what I would say healed, when Nike decided to, okay, it's good to throw money behind him because now we got movements in this country where Black Lives Matter. Okay. And it went kind of full circle. So I don't think there was no evil in the man being able to pay his bills.
Nothing. It was a small caveat though, Dr. Ron.
Okay.
He had just been benched.
Man, he had been martyred.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
See, that's why most of the league players didn't want to go because, see, if it was Michael Jordan that had pulled that, whole different result. That was the problem with Colin Kaepernick. He had been benched, and it made him look like a crybaby. And I don't
Yeah.
think he's a crybaby at all. I like
No.
Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, he
Oh,
wasn't
he got
the
benched
marquee player.
before.
He got benched.
before?
He got benched before. So it made it look like because
forgot
he
that.
got benched, he's going against. That's where everybody was like, "No, dude, you got benched. Dog.
Well, he's acting like a little bitch. Is that what they were saying?
That's basically how they handled it. And that
you got-
wasn't fair.
And then you got Trump that came down on him so hard, like a ton of bricks.
Right.
You know, how you gonna allow, you know, him to kneel during the, you know, the greatest song this country has ever heard, you know, the Star Spangled Banner and all that kind of crap.
They didn't need to kneel. They needed not to show up.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
But
true.
it takes a certain
That's
person
true.
to exuberance, a leadership quality. It takes a certain person to say, you know what, I'm going to take this stance. You go back to the late great Muhammad Ali for what he did, for
Yep.
what other athletes had done outside of the ring, outside of the field, outside of the court.
He was
Jim
a
Brown.
champion when he said it.
Exactly.
Exude
Exactly.
was the word you were looking for.
Thank you. I know you like to correct people, but yes, exactly. So
He's
there you
good
go.
at it.
Yeah, I know. I know.
We all knew what you meant.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to correct your ass one day too.
Oh,
So
dictionary.
the thing about it is,
sitting around just. I'm sorry. I didn't mean.
I know how you operate. You just sit back and just wait for you to fuck up.
Do
You know. So no,
Yes,
don't
you
don't
do.
don't
you
give
know,
me
let me
that.
tell you, Virgos hate being corrected, and I understand that.
Yeah, you're a fellow Virgo too. You get it. That's why you like to fuck with me. But besides that, but besides that, Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, and others who have definitely shown who they are outside of the sport. And so they take a stance knowing what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Knowing
and that's
what,
where you have to be. You have to know where you at, Chris. You
Yes.
hitting the nail on the head. You can't just call a shot like this. Everybody was in Colin Kaepernick's corner, but it was the timing was wrong.
I had the opportunity of meeting, you talked about Michael Jordan earlier. I met Craig Hodges, who was his Bulls teammate. Craig Hodges was a fantastic three-point shooter. In fact, when he made his stance about what's going on in America when it comes to the black plight, you know, as you know, the team who wins a championship in their sport, they go to the White House. So he's dressed in full dashiki and kufi on and everything else, and gives President Bush this doctrine about how to help black people in this country. And so based upon that, the Bulls let him go. In fact, he was in the NBA All-Star for 3 years straight, All-Star contest, doing a three-point contest with no team affiliation whatsoever. When I got a chance to meet him, I said, look, bro, first of all, thank you for everything you've done. What was it like going through that? And he told me. He did talk to Michael Jordan a couple of times, says, you are the face of the league. We can get some stuff done. And Michael had the right to either listen or not. And he would just shoo him away. And that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to play basketball. But as you said, Mike, what if a Michael Jordan had taken the stance then?
Totally different. Totally
But
different.
it takes a certain person to do it. And I understand where he was coming from at the time, because he was a face of the league. He had Nike, the whole Air Jordan thing. I mean, look, at one point, the Bulls were not paying him right. He made all his money off of endorsements. So look at all the endorsement he had. At 1 year, he made $32 million, $32 million outside of the court.
Right. One of the highest, he was the highest paid spokesperson at the time.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
But they did the same thing to Magic, though. They weren't paying Magic nothing for years.
No, nothing at all. So again, you look at these leadership qualities. These people have to realize that you step out on faith, and you can lose everything.
Yeah, that's true. But at one point in time, do you begin to feel like you can execute a change in the future world? And you may hurt right now in the current day, but you think about what the good that can be accomplished futuristically.
I think certain people don't get that deep.
Yeah.
They're just in the here and now. Not everybody, but the ones who are, and they think about what's happening now, not more so an investment to the future.
Yeah. You know, you think about it. If in 1964, if they would not have had a protest in Washington, D.C. to for rights, civil rights, would we have what we have now if it were not for them?
Hey, we've had that discussion before. What if there was no civil rights movement? And a lot of people feel like, maybe things would have evolved on their own, and that maybe black people would still be stronger now because they wouldn't have ever let their late neighborhoods and been took all the money out of the black community and all the role models out of the black community. We've had this discussion before. It was a good one, though. I think I brought it up. Not to toot my own horn, but beep beep.
Well, thank God they did have it.
Right. Yeah, that's the bottom line. Thank God they did have it.
They did have it.
No point in speculating.
And the Voting Right Act and all the other things that came out of it, which led to where we are now, is actually, benefits from what they were able to do in 1964. So, the leagues, the sports personalities, the people that are out there, sacrificing their bodies for our entertainment, because that's all it is entertainment, and if they do something now, how can it benefit players in the future?
Well, they got to stand for something. And
right.
I mean,
that's just as an example. I'm sorry, Mike. Just like the example of concussion protocols, that's something that they had to adapt, something they had to make changes to keep people from winding up being vegetables in the future.
No, you're absolutely correct. I mean, and like I said, one of the things that we have to do, see, it's if you don't stand for something, you stand for nothing. And we haven't been able to get that. We've heard it in our community for years, but we won't do it immediately. When they start taking that money, that green, and they start doing that, we forget all about that stand for something. I want that check.
Mm-hmm.
See, once you start showing them that check ain't that important, so when you ask for what you want, they don't have any choice but to give it to you. See, when you wagging your tail, it's like a dog. If all of a sudden you go to the kitchen, what does the dog do? Follow you to the kitchen, start wagging that ass. Oh, I'm getting ready to get a treat. I'm getting ready to get something. But if that dog ignored you when you went to the kitchen and stayed on the couch, all of a sudden you're going, come here, Petey. You see what I'm saying? That's
sick
when the dog is in control.
You shift power.
But
you shift.
So why can't we? Why do we have such a hard time turning the money down?
Because we don't know. Collective. When they talk about collective bargaining, we were divided from slavery. It was the worst thing that ever happened. There is no antidote that can cure that. There's not one. It put a stigma on us that we can't shake. Yeah. And we struggle with it. And so the moment that we try to get together and do something, we go in the wrong direction. See, sometimes we have to be separate but apart. I mean, separate but together.
Yeah.
Sometimes Ron may be doing one thing and I'm doing something else, but everybody don't need to know me and him doing the same thing.
Yeah, and we just saw an example of that in the news just today. All this week, the train industry has been threatening to strike.
Oh, and everybody's on edge too. It was on edge.
Yeah, scheduled Friday will not be no Amtrak, no freight trains, nothing.
Fill up your gas now.
Look, they resolved that issue today.
Like that.
Because President Biden got involved.
Look,
well,
the union that represented the train industry, they came together and said, look, we ain't gonna argue no more. They've been without a contract long enough. It's like, okay, well, Friday we shutting down. Y'all can do what you want to do, but
See,
you ain't
this is
gonna be
different than getting on a plane, Ron. See, that the pilot's been trying to pull off this same thing.
right.
It's funny you said that because the pilots have been trying to pull this off for the last 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
And it ain't worked. This happened in 48 hours.
Yep.
Because you're dealing with people's businesses. And Kroger and Walmart and all these companies who depend, they don't give a damn how you get to work. Just be here at 4 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
The moment that that's threatened, it's not going to happen. And that goes back to what we're talking about collectively when the players don't show up.
That's right.
Because ABC, CBS, and NBC done sold that time.
Yep.
For you to be watching that game, and it ain't no damn game on Thursday night.
Ain't
no damn game
on ABC.
Yeah. That's right.
You mentioned, Aaron mentioned earlier about when Mike, did the thing about the money. We do get lost in money because we've never seen it before. So me, media speaks to me in movies. So there's a scene in the movie Hoodlum, starring Lawrence Fishburne playing Bumpy Johnson. So there's a scene where he's about to have his banana split, and he realizes that he's been poisoned. He's about to be poisoned because of it smelling like rat poisoning, the nuts on it and everything else. And he told the guy, I don't like nuts on my split. So who suggested this new guy put it on my banana split? Valley. So Valley was the guy that was working with them, and they got him on the next scene. And it was like, Valley, I've never seen that ring on your finger before. It was like, yeah, I just got a dime store trinket. And he was like, well, what really happened? Okay, Dutch gave me $5,000. That's a lot of money. Now, he didn't look at the betrayal of the poisoning. He saw the money. The $5,000 was all that he thought about. And not, once again, being unified with someone like Bumpy Johnson that was supposed to be his leader, his liege, everything else. But the $5,000 got into his hand, hey, Bumpy had to go. So when we see the money, we forget sometimes about our allegiances, what we should be about. And sometimes that money will make us do, what they say back in the day, and say, strange for a piece of change.
Yeah, absolutely. And we gotta get to that point where, and they know we're like that. See, when they know that you're like that, it's nothing you can do about it.
Nothing.
Look what we've done for Nike. I mean, wait a minute. This SHIT in all caps gets on my nerves. Why is everybody walking around in slides? I'm seeing people all over. I'm in a car driving 5 to 6 hours a day.
What are slides?
They look like house shoes. Normally you wear them you'll see the NBA players wear them when they're not, have their tennis shoes on and they're walking around in the gym. They have slides.
Right.
They look like house shoes. That's a new style. Slides is a new style. If I see another person in slides, I want to run over them with my car. Kids are wearing slides. I mean, it's going crazy. It is that and the eyelashes are too.
What do you mean the eyelashes?
Them things that look like caterpillars on their eyeballs.
Women are wearing.
I thought you were saying that men are doing it now. I'm like,
no. I'm just talking about people. See, we're just talking about the things when we're talking about,
trends and
the love of money. What makes I'm trying to figure it out. I wanted to ask
fingernails way out here.
The fingernails are way out here,
and they're curved like this.
Yeah.
No, they got them straight like blades now. They got both of them, but most of them now they straight.
Yeah.
They're at least 2 inches, 2 to 3 inches long.
They're like they're like Wolverine from the Marvel stuff.
Wolverine. There you go.
I've seen those. Yeah.
Do you know the eyelashes that they put on? They charge $250 to put on and $250 to take off.
What?
That's not a lot of money.
You can't because they're attached to your natural eyebrow.
What's $2.50?
$250.
You said 200. I thought you meant two.
No, $250 each eye. Because they're attached to your eyelashes, your natural eyelashes, they charge $200 plus to take them off. So you can't just go in the bathroom and just say, I don't feel like wearing no eyelashes today and just snatch them off. They're attached to your eyelashes.
GTFOH.
In all caps. When you seeing these women walking around with these eyelashes, they're attached to their natural eyelashes. They can't snatch them off.
Oh man.
So you pay $200 to put them on, $200 to take them off.
Hey, more power to them. They got to do what they
and them
gotta do.
them little Asian people that do that kind of stuff is cleaning up.
Hey, Ron, that was racist.
Yeah,
Well, he's absolutely correct because they bring the products over. If you ever go in some of those stores that they have, once again, here's a product that we use full throttle, but we don't own the store. We knew all the black hair care companies when Johnson Publishing Company was out because all of them was advertised in there.
Yep.
We don't know who it is. And there's no allegiance. See, we don't have time to get into what our problems are. Our problems are actually an easy fix.
Really?
Yeah.
What's that?
How we still, you know that there are people. I had a friend of mine. So I called him because I used to get high, smoke weed. So I know he still smokes weed, right? And I asked him, I said, well, now that they have the CBD stores, do you get it? He said, nah, I still get my shit from the niggas. Quote. Okay. So, and I said, you telling me, I almost said his name. Oh, shit. You telling me that you would take the risk to go to a drug dealer's house and buy illegal drugs when you can go to a mall, a strip mall, and buy it legally? It ain't that good. See, we got issues.
Yeah, I'm as the one person on the panel that can speak to that. Government weed is the shit.
Everybody I know that do CBD says it. He ain't the only one. Because I'm saying you gonna take that chance. They'll tell you the potency. The dope man don't tell you the potency of the weed. He just gonna tell you, yeah, this is what
on the label.
They tell you the potency.
Yeah. If it ain't 27% or higher, I don't want
Nobody want it.
Yeah, and all that street stuff, man. You know what they do is, you know, they go to places like California, Vegas, and they buy quantities of stuff, and they bring it back and they open it up like, you know, hey, like, you know, like they doing something, but they're getting it from a dispensary somewhere else. That's all.
Yeah, and I mean, think about it. That's all they got to do. They can now go. They don't have to go and get it illegal.
Right.
You can go to the dispensary, buy it, and then put your thing on top of that, and you the local, because there are people who feel like I'm not going to a CBD store. Go ahead.
Quick survey, just between us, among us. How long you think it's going to be before weed is legal in the whole country?
It should have been legal. The bill has been sitting in the House forever.
So how long?
You know,
I
ain't gonna take that long.
I have no interest in weed anymore. So
yeah, no, I say within, you know, the next 3 to 5, I think the feds will go ahead on and decriminalize it.
I think it's gonna be another 10 at least.
Nah,
at
3
least.
to 5. It's too much money in it, you know, and based on taxation in Illinois alone, they made $1 billion the first year that they made it legal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the tax dollars part of it. Okay.
Imagine how much California made.
Yeah.
And Arizona. There was a lot of states that killed the game.
Yeah.
But I mean, California is the most populous state. Can you imagine?
And they're actually members in our federal government that have invested in the cannabis marketplace. And they're in favor of it, but it's just the Senate has been playing Republican games. That's all I can say, you know, because it passed the House. You know, they just been waiting on them to call it.
But let me say this real quick. Can you put up what Ken, guys, whoever's controlling the thing? Okay. He says they underpaid Walter Payton. He tried to buy an NFL team. I'm going to go back and reiterate this in 30 seconds or less. You can't do this as an individual. Anybody out here, I'm going in consulting coach mode. If you want, you have to build a corporation. You have to build. See, when you walk in as an individual, you can't take over anything here or anywhere in around the world. Corporations rule. So you have to build. See, if Peyton, Jordan, and the list goes on. See, they have to get together and create that corporation, or they have to get behind it. You see what I'm saying? That's the only way it'll work. You can't individualize these kind of situations. All these things that we're talking about, CBD, NFL, NBA, anything that you want to do right now, if you have any plans on, if it's nothing but we talking about doing nails and hair, you have to have a legitimate business that's incorporated, that you build, and then you start bringing in investors. And you start to build a stockpile of money. Money talks and bullshit walks.
Mike.
Always remember that.
Language.
Bullshit is not a curse word when you're teaching somebody how to keep it real.
Okay.
Money talks and bullshit walks.
Hey, before we close out, would anybody like to hear how much California is making in cannabis revenue just from taxes? This is the headline from whatever website this is. California, this is 4 months ago too, by the way. California marijuana tax revenue nears $4 billion, but growth has stalled, says state analysts. Okay, 4B.
Well, because they got competition. You got people back to when I was smoking weed, they had magazines out, High Times and stuff like that. And they were trying to show you how to take the hot lights, put it in your garage and grow the plants and take the seeds. And some people were doing it and other people, they tried it. It didn't work. You'd be surprised how many people that's going back to this money situation. Property is everything. Most people who are doing something that they ain't supposed to be doing don't live in your neighborhood. They go out and buy some land.
Oh yeah. Hey,
a lot of times, if you start driving out into some of the rural areas and you see those steel sheds that they're building now, pornography is being shot in those sheds. Weed is being grown in those sheds. A lot of illegal.
Not illegal though, bro.
Say that again.
Pornography is not illegal.
It's illegal when you are trying to sell it, when you're selling it and it's not done correctly. I'm talking about, how when you see a porno come on and it shows you the little disclaimer about, where it's shot at and all that kind of stuff and the rights, all of that has to be regulated. It's illegal if you're not registered.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
All right.
So just because you go and shoot a sex act, and it's considered actually pornography once it's licensed. That's the licensed name of a sex act between two individuals. That's when it's pornography.
I've never looked it up.
It's the F word when Ron is just doing it. You didn't see that coming, did you, Ron?
And on that note, Chris, get us out of here.
It's checkout time, fool.
You have been connected, I think, to Street News Now, SNN.
No pun intended.
Yeah, I know, right? Catch us every Thursday evening. That's 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, and 6 p.m. on the Pacific West Coast time. Make sure you go to our YouTube channel and type in SNN-Street News Now. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. For Dr. Ron Ford, for Bug, for Mike Love, for our missing brothers, Professor Reggie Miles, and our fearless leader, Lee Michaels, I'm Chris Bass. Continue to be peaceful and good night.